Hi guys, how's it going? We are back with another Not Just Bikes reaction. I do enjoy these videos a lot, so go show the original channel some love. The link to the original video will be in the description section down below. This one is a new one by them. It's Throwing Good Money After Bad Car Infrastructure, Wonderland Road. So, without me just, over here just talking too much, we're going to jump into it and see what this is all about, guys. Shout out Not Just Bikes. Amazing
I
channel.
grew up in a car-infested city called London, Ontario, Canada.
Fake
Today
London.
I want to talk about a road widening project that was proposed there a few years ago because it's an interesting case of what could be a turning point in car dependency.
Okay.
This is Wonderland Road, specifically at the corner of Oxford and Wonderland. I spent a lot of my childhood coming to this place because this is where all the shops were. In fact, the day I got my driver's license, when I was 16 years old, the very first trip I took was to this building, which used to be a Wendy's. It's now a bubble tea shop. Yum! Looking back, it's
Did he say
really
bubble
pathetic.
tea?
Now a bubble tea shop.
Okay.
Yum! Looking
Never
back,
had it.
it's really pathetic that a trip to buy a hamburger was such an amazing journey for a 16-year-old, but when you grow up in suburbia, you're pretty much stranded until you can drive, so any amount of independent mobility is incredible. Wonderland is a typical 5-lane strode, 2 driving lanes in each direction with a center turning lane and lined with commercial properties and side streets. A strode is a street that's designed more like a highway, and if you want to know more, you'll have to watch my previous video about it.
You said a strode?
Designed more like a highway, properties and side streets. A strode is a street that's designed more like a highway, and if you want to know more, you'll have to watch my previous video about it.
Okay, yeah, we have those. I didn't know it was called
Wonderland
that.
Road is a major north-south arterial for the city that, according to recent counts, carries over 45,000 vehicles a day. This was considered to be a problem, so the city was preparing to undertake its largest infrastructure project in history, to take 8 kilometers of this 5-lane strode and widen it to a 7-lane strode. This project was unveiled with a cute little logo of Discover Wonderland, which kind of makes me want to barf because it's literally just one step closer to paving the earth. The most recent cost estimate for this project was over $212 million. That's an already absurdly high number for a city the size of fake London, but as Strongtowns has shown us, when it comes to car-dependent infrastructure, the real cost is in the lifetime of maintenance, not the capital costs.
Fine.
This is what Wonderland Road looks like during rush hour. That's a lot of cars. And with typical average vehicle occupancy levels in London, that 45,000 vehicles equates to like about 45,000 people. Just a bit south of Oxford Street, no, not that Oxford Street, is this section of Wonderland. It's 30 meters wide, including the sidewalks. Here you can see a sea of asphalt, part of which forms a painted bicycle gutter for anybody brave enough to ride next to high-speed motor traffic.
Places around
These
here.
people have the right idea by being on the sidewalk. Riding a bike on this road is suicide. There are very few trees or any greenery at all except grass. I'm currently baking in the sun while standing in the clear zone, the area next to the road that's kept clear of obstacles in case a high-speed car runs off the road. It really sucks to stand here. Here you can see houses off to the left, most of which have been turned into businesses because nobody wants to live along a 5-lane strode. And finally, this strode is very difficult and dangerous to cross. I know because I was stupid enough to try it. In general, Wonderland Road is hostile to anybody who isn't in a car, which is typical for a North American city.
Yeah,
now,
all over.
Compare that to this street in Amsterdam. This street is also 30 meters wide. Each side of the street has a comfortable 2.5-meter sidewalk, a 2-meter protected bicycle path, street parking, a lane for cars, and a dedicated bus and tram lane that can also be used by taxis and emergency vehicles. There are these nice big street trees, and there are still people living here too because people do like being on a street like this, even if you're not in a car. Despite being 30 meters wide, this street is trivially easy to cross. There are raised crossings for pedestrians, and there are pedestrian islands, so people walking...
What is that? Is there a mirror there, or is this a camera? What is this? I just noticed that. We don't have those here. That makes it a lot safer.
Only ever need to look in one direction at a time while crossing. This woman is casually crossing with a cup of coffee in her hand,
Yeah,
while
it
I had to
is.
sprint
I'm
across
out of
Wonderland
coffee,
Road
actually.
to avoid dying. And the side streets have continuous sidewalks, making them very safe for people walking and cycling.
In the mirror, he didn't mention it.
It's also good to remember that this street didn't always look like this.
We don't have
For
those here.
example, it looked like this in the 1970s. These changes were made on purpose to make the street better. Could you imagine if they had decided to widen this to 6 lanes instead? So this street is pleasant, attractive, safe, and productive. But it actually moves more people too.
Wow.
This is a graphic from the Transit Street Design Guide published by NACTO, the National Association of City Transportation Officials in the United States. It shows the carrying capacity of a single lane of traffic of different types. Now, you might say that the high end of these estimates could be optimistic, but even if you take the lowest numbers for transit and cycling versus the most optimistic for driving, this street carries almost 3 times as many people as Wonderland Road, while also being better in every way. But productive and attractive streets aside, the fundamental problem with a road widening like this is that it won't actually solve congestion. It is well known that in a growing city, any new road capacity will be consumed by induced demand. So the largest infrastructure project in the city's history would result in over a decade of construction, followed by a year or 2 of improved traffic flow, and then the city will be in exactly the same situation as before, but with an even bigger maintenance liability and a lower quality of life for just about everyone,
Bit of a waste of
especially
time.
those who aren't in a car. This is the trap of car dependency. Car infrastructure is an endless money pit, and it's not sustainable, financially or environmentally. So you might be thinking, this all seems pretty typical for a North American car-dependent hellscape like fake London, so why is this even worth mentioning? Well, the remarkable part is what happened last month.
What happened last month?
London city staff issued a report that analyzed all upcoming transportation projects through a, quote, climate lens. And this report says all the right things.
Widening of this corridor will have significant impacts to the environment and climate change associated with increased greenhouse gas emissions.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, more pollution,
Roadway
more cars.
widening to solely accommodate general traffic leads to induced travel demand with additional trips, no mode shift incentive, and a return to congestion.
Widening to 6 lanes would have a negative impact on the streetscape and impact connectivity and accessibility across the corridor.
Yeah.
6 lanes? You gotta be f***ing kidding me. Okay, I made up that last one. But the really amazing part is that London City Council agreed. They voted 9-5 to agree with staff recommendations to cancel the road widening project and to consider the traffic congestion problem as part of their wider mobility master plan. This is the best news to come out of London, Ontario since the guy who runs Not Just Bikes. But while this is a very welcome change and hopefully a sign of better things to come for my much maligned hometown, there's still a chance that this project could rise again just with a little bit of greenwashing. While North American traffic engineers may talk a lot about complete streets, the actual outcome is far too often a complete strode. Sure, it's 6 lanes of car traffic with no dedicated transit right away, but look, there are bike paths in the clear zone, and apparently a hydro pole too. This is a plan so terrible that even the artist's interpretation looks like crap.
Yeah, it does.
And then there's arguments like this one. One London politician who was in favor of the plan was quoted as saying, "Cars pollute the most when they're idling, so by not widening, we're simply increasing congestion and idling." Now, this is nonsense, of course, because getting even a small fraction of people out of their cars and onto other modes of travel would more than offset any impact of idling due to congestion. I do love it, though, when suburbanites suddenly care an awful lot about the environment, as long as the solution is to let them drive everywhere and as fast as they want. And finally, there's the issue of transit. There is no doubt that public transit is the most efficient way to move large volumes of people, by far, but not all transit projects are equal.
What the?
Wonderland Road has a bus route.
Now, did the bus just stop for no reason? You can clearly tell there ain't nobody in that little bus stop.
That public transit is the most efficient way to move large volumes of people, by far, but not all transit projects are equal.
It makes no sense to me.
Wonderland Road has a bus route that runs the entire length of the area that was due to be widened. But since the buses get stuck in the same traffic as the cars, nobody will ever take the bus if they can afford to drive. The fundamental
Wow,
problem is
yeah.
that most of London is sprawling car-centered developments of primarily single-family homes. This kind of environment makes it almost impossible to build high-quality transit accessible by enough people to make it worthwhile. Transit should be used as a catalyst to build great places, not as a band-aid on top of car-dependent infrastructure. The city needs to build high-quality transit with its own right-of-way and then encourage the development of mixed-use walkable neighborhoods around those transit lines. I'd really like to see London take this cancelled road widening project as an opportunity to change for the better, but
Right.
I'm not very optimistic.
No, it's
The
too
city
late
had a
for
bus
us
rapid
over
transit
here.
plan, which itself was a downgraded LRT plan, but they've recently chopped off 2 lines, including the western one that would have intersected with Wonderland, the Strode that apparently had such crippling traffic that they were about to spend over $200 million on it. The decisions London has made around their rapid transit project shows that there's still a fundamental misunderstanding about the role of transit in a city. It's not just to move the people who live there today, but for the people who will live
Looks
along the
just
transit
like
network in the future.
my area
Induced demand isn't just about cars.
in
It
the United
works for
States,
transit
northern
too.
Indiana.
But climate emergencies and mobility master plans aside, London needs to ask itself one important question. Why did it ever think it needed 6-lane Stroads for a city of only 400,000 people? And how can a city of this size not have any rapid transit of any kind? What development patterns
North
led to this
America.
problem in the first
That's
place,
why.
and what needs to change so that this never happens again? Because if they don't resolve this fundamental issue, they'll be constantly throwing good money after bad car infrastructure.
Right.
I'd like to thank my supporters on Patreon who
Well,
pay me
there
to
you
travel
guys
through the
have
Looking
it.
Glass. If you'd like to support the channel and get access
If
to bonus
you-
videos, visit patreon.com/notjustbikes.
Go check out his channel. Give him some love. If you guys enjoy these Not Just Bikes reactions, I do have a ton more, and I do plan on doing a ton more. So I'm gonna get up out of here. I do a lot of stuff on the Netherlands. I do stuff on Australia, Germany, Norway, Sweden, Switzerland, you know, stuff like that. And I plan to be adding more countries to the list soon. I got England, Scotland, Ireland, all that. So stay tuned for more. And thanks for stopping by. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.